Hello, everybody. My name is Joel Filderman, and welcome to the Dog Trainers Connection. I'm not a dog trainer, but the people you see here are, and together they have quite a few years of experience in the dog training world. And we get together to discuss a topic and talk about it a little bit and maybe come up with some thoughts, some ideas, and maybe even some answers. The topic that I'd like to discuss today is the reason that I wanted to discuss this topic is that recently I was in a place and somebody was talking about the fact that they had 3 Akitas. And I thought back to the story, Steve, that you had told a long time ago about that when Akitas got to be popular, that everybody wanted them. And that was because, there was the thought that they protected children, and your reaction to that was, yes, they protected children for the emperor, that's what they were trained for, but that was behind a door and far away from the children so that nothing happened to the children. So my thought was, what do you do in that situation? What do you do when you go to a client's house and they have the quote unquote wrong dog, or is there such a thing as the wrong dog? And since Steve, that was your story, let's start with you today.
Well, let me clarify my Akita thing for a second.
Sure, I know.
I'm in trouble with these people to begin with. But
yeah.
I really don't remember ever having an Akita case where there was a problem with the dog with family members.
Mm-hmm.
Never. That doesn't mean it never happens, but I never had one. On the other end of this thing, I've probably been to court like 8 or 9 times in Akita bite cases. And of course, they were always bites to outside of the family. Children, adults, it just didn't matter. They're sort of okay with biting anybody that's not their family, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
But you can be a good Akita owner if you understand your breed. I mean, if you happen to have a breed that lends itself to the family and doesn't really enjoy the presence of strangers, then maybe you just need to be that owner that is thinking about where the dog is.
Okay.
You know what it is? I got this landscape.
It's all right.
It's driving me crazy. Anyway, if you know your dog well, then and you're willing to do what it takes for everybody to be comfortable, then I don't know if there's even such a thing as having the wrong dog. The problem is when people don't recognize the dog they have, forget about the breed, about how the dog feels. Is the dog a truly social friendly dog, or is this a dog that's social and friendly within your family but really doesn't enjoy the presence of visitors or maybe other dogs? I mean, I think in our field, people call us up and want us to fix everything.
Mm-hmm.
Some stuff isn't broken. It's how they feel. Are they allowed to feel a certain way? Why do we have to try and modify the way they feel all the time? Well, maybe it doesn't fit into our lifestyle. And maybe in that case, we can say, you don't have the right dog. It doesn't, I hate to say the wrong dog, because then it puts it on the dog. Maybe I put it on the people and say, you just don't have the right dog because you can't or refuse to manage this particular animal's needs. And so...
Right. Well, part of my thought with this as well is, while I'm talking about Akitas and you're a shepherd expert and Jeff is a pit bull expert, but, I also thought about the people who have like Australian cattle dogs who don't have a backyard and don't have an ability to walk them. So is that the wrong dog, or is that just the wrong person for that dog?
Well, maybe it's a lazy cattle dog. Or maybe they go to herding classes on the weekends, or... there's a million pieces to this thing. What's my favorite line, Joel?
It's complicated.
It's complicated. How am I doing here, Jeff? I mean,
Jeff, what about pit bulls? What about people with pit bulls? And are there right people for pit bulls, or does it make any difference? Is it exactly what Steve is talking about? Is it about the dog and about the people with the dog?
Okay, so obviously I have to put my pit bull advocate hat on first before I put my training hat on. Pit bulls are just dogs, and I'll just leave that there. They are dogs before they are anything else. If if people are watching this and they come across someone who says something other than that, and they're looking for information, move on to the next person, because they are just dogs first. That doesn't mean that they're less capable than other animals, but a lot of athletic dogs are more capable than other dogs. My 26-year-old self is a lot more capable than my 46-year-old self,
Sure.
right?
Exactly.
So, you know, it kind of, and I guess it piggybacks a little bit off of what Steve was saying with, you know, and dogs are individuals. You know, that's another thing that sometimes we kind of fail to consider at times. However, let's start with what people should do. And this, and I know all of you can probably attest to this. In a perfect world, someone would call us and say, I'm looking to get a dog. Can you help me choose the right dog?
Mm-hmm.
That's the right way to go about getting a dog.
But then the question becomes, Jeff, is there such a thing as the right dog?
Correct, right. So I'm telling people right now what they should do is seek a professional to help them match the right dog. And, you know, it might be a breed group that interests them, whether it's a toy group that they're looking for, or they want a more active dog and they're looking for a terrier, or they want a larger protector, etc. But in an ideal world, people looking to get or adopt a dog, seek a professional first to help you. And when people, I shouldn't say when, in the rare occasion that it's, that I am, I'm asked this, I tell people to write down traits that they are looking for, not physical appearance, traits.
Sure.
And then we would go to a breed group and maybe narrow it down and go from there and then start looking for dogs to adopt or whatever. Anyway, is there a wrong dog? So because I'm a pit bull guy, there's times I fall into, you have to do certain things when you have a pit bull. And the bottom line is this, is that while there's some truth to that, we are held to a higher standard than other breed owners. It's just a sad truth. So we have to do more of what every other owner has to do. Right. There's really no difference, right? Socialization, training, good environmental management, all that stuff, So we have to do more of that to make sure that our dogs are good ambassadors for their breed. Right. But from a pit bull standpoint, if someone has common sense, they could be a pit bull owner. Right. That it's that simple. They're athletic animals, right? They're part of the terrier group, so they do carry certain terrier traits, right? If someone wants a 35-pound dog, don't get a Rottweiler. To me, that's common sense. Right. If someone gets a Rottweiler puppy and gets rid of it when it's 8 months old because it got too big, you're an idiot, okay? Because you could know nothing about dogs. You do know that a Rottweiler is going to be a pretty large dog, right? If you want a really social animal that's not, that's going to let everybody and their mother in the house, you're not going to get a garden breed. So there is some onus on people to choose the right animal. But in this particular topic, we're assuming they already have the dog and something's not fitting, right?
Well, not necessarily. Bonnie, actually, I'd like to know your thoughts as to what happens if somebody, say, somebody who really isn't that athletic decides that they want to get one of those big, strong dogs. How do you handle that? What do you tell them? How do you?
I would like to turn that question to Joyce, if I might, as a co-host in a way of Dog Trainers Connection, because I know Joyce is a bulldog expert and other bully breeds, and I'd like to turn that over to her.
Sure, that sounds good.
That's okay, Joyce.
Yeah.
Time.
So, Joyce, what do you think about that?
Well, I in this question, I want to be the rescue person. I do with rescue. Also work with a local rescue that does all breeds and all types of dog sizes, all that stuff. and I'm very involved with that. We see this all the time. And when we get the application in, we've worked with the adoption staff to ask more in-depth questions of people, because the biggest thing that people look for in a dog when they go to adopt, and I'm sure when they buy, is what does it look like? Is it pretty? Is it, does it have blue eyes? Does it look like a dog I used to have? On and on and on and on. It's always the looks, the looks, the looks.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody's been taught in our group that that is the last thing of importance. And we start asking questions about, what is it you want? What type of lifestyle do you have? What type of activity level do you have? Do you like dogs do you have any tolerance for a dog that's going to pee in your house or chew on your stuff? Are you looking to leave a dog outside in your backyard for any time unattended? Are you looking to be active with your dog and go hiking or walking around the block?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like to throw a ball with your dog, or do you just want somebody to sit in your lap and cuddle with while you watch TV? So we have all these different questions we ask, and those are the ones I wish we could get across to everybody, that when you're looking for a dog, forget about the looks. The looks don't matter. That it should be so far down the line, because the most beautiful dog in the world can be the biggest asshole.
Oh, yeah.
And the ugliest dog in the world can be the most amazing family friend and sweet with the kids, and grandma comes over and they don't jump. They know exactly what to do. Case in point, we have this pit bull here. Her name's Pinky. She's not pretty. She's got ears that go way out here. She's got too long of a nose. She's walks a little wonky, but she would be the best dog for anybody. She's got a good on-off switch, and we've been pushing her for people to adopt her, but they take one look at her and go, ugh, she's kind of weird looking. And then they pass her over for the beautiful blue one over here.
Sure.
And then they take that one home, and inevitably they're struggling because it's not the right dog for them based on the answers they gave us. So this is one that touches really closely to my heart. And for people that are looking for dogs, they need to ask different questions. They need to look at getting a new family member in a new way, and I should say in a different way. And for trainers that are in the position of assisting people in finding those dogs, they need to start heading these people down that road of asking those questions, those lifestyle questions,
and personality, as Steve had discussed.
Absolutely, those tolerance questions. I mean, even though I'm a trainer, I hate dogs jumping on me. I do not like it at all. And so when I go and I pick out a rescue from the shelter, I'm really looking for dogs that aren't overly jumpy, because I don't like to go through the whole process of being mauled while I'm looking for a dog to rescue. And so it's, for me personally, I know what I really like. And I just adopted a Doberman. She doesn't jump on me at all. And I love that from the very beginning, that she's not a jumper. And so I know what I like, and I didn't really care about the looks so much. I've never really even thought about having a Doberman. Now I have one. It's not a bulldog. It's just kind of outside my like of looks. So, people, it's a tough one, because humans are very beauty oriented.
Yes.
And then they worry about the rest later. And we need
the aesthetics.
We need to worry about the rest now and let the beauty be from the inside rather than the outside.
So, but Bonnie, what do you do when the person thinks they have a dog that is a certain personality, and they get there and it ain't it? It's supposed to be, as Steve always talks about, there's certain types of dogs that are supposed to be a certain way, but they're not that way. As he said, the lazy Aussie, et cetera. How do you handle that?
Well, I think Steve said it at the beginning, that you go in with the client and you do the best you can to try to get them to help the dog out. If it's going to herding lessons on the weekend, if it's giving them some exercise to do in the house that might get the dog, show them a trick so that the dog learns a trick, play a recall game in the house. I mean, I don't think trainers will go in and will say to the person, you got the wrong dog here. You're hired to go in and help them. And I think as a trainer, you need to do your best to steer them in the right direction to help the dog out if they are going to keep the dog. And I guess it depends on too, how many issues the dog has, where the person is with being okay with the dog, or are you called in and they're at their wits' end and they're like, I need to rehome this dog or get rid of this dog, but they call you in. And I think there are so many variables with where the person is at when you go in, that the trainer, that you have to adjust. And maybe all the time we don't do as well as we can because the person, you can't force the person to do what you want them to do. And I'm sure, Steve, you've had that. You make suggestions and then you don't hear from them again, or you don't even know, they pay for 3 lessons and you don't even know what they've done with the dog. And
let's follow that for a second, right? So this kicks back to Jeff too. I had this last week, all right? A veterinarian calls me, he's retired. His daughter's now 18 years, granddaughter, 18 years old, moving into Manhattan. Cute kid. She wants to get a dog because she's going to be living in an apartment in the city. So he calls me up and he says, this is what my granddaughter wants. We want to know what you think. And I'm like, okay, here we go. She's, what do you think about a Cane Corso? And I'm like, I have thoughts. Then they say, she also likes the Dogo Argentino. I'm like, I have thoughts. Mm-hmm. And they're going down this list. And basically I just end up saying, no. What about a Belgian Malinois? Swear to God, this happened. I'm like, listen, she's 18. Is she nervous? They're like, yeah, she's nervous. So she wants something that looks like it's going to take care of business.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so we're talking all show, no go, right? Isn't that basically in the short of it, right? We want all show, no go. I'm like, all right. So now I'm thinking, and I'm scared, myself, I'm scared shitless, because what's going to happen is I'm going to make a suggestion, but it doesn't have to go well, because I have to go with something that kind of looks like it could, right? But I don't want it to, because the kid's not going to be able to handle it. So I go with Bull Mastiff, because I've known some that are really just mushy, big mushy. And on top of that, I said, because he's got the money to buy a really well-bred, show line, no instinct type dog, I hope, for this kid. And it'll be all show, no go. But it is not, it doesn't have to go that way. So it's like Jeff says, look, the perfect scenario is they come and they ask you. And I'm like, yeah, that beats them going out, making a horrible mistake. But I'm still nervous, even with my experience and all that. I really would like this to go well, but it doesn't have to. But at least I kept the kid off of a Dogo, a Cane Corso, and a Malinois. So I feel like, all right, what could I couldn't say get a Frenchie, you know what I mean? I had to come up with something that, and I'm on the spot. This puts us on the spot, Jeff, you know what I mean? Come to me, I'll help you. It's like, they came to me for help. What if, so now, and of course, they're not going to go away. They're never going to go away. I know this guy, and I know his daughter and now his granddaughter, and now they're going to go and get this Bull Mastiff. And Lord knows, I hope that I gave them the right suggestion. So I'm afraid, even though I think it was given what they're asking for, I think I gave them a reasonable breed. But you guys might not think I did such a good job. I don't know. What do you think?
I was thinking English Mastiff. And here's why. You get a hell of a show, right? But if she's 18, the chances of her being married within the next 10 years are high, right? And people are getting married closer to their 30s now than ever before. So I was thinking more along the lines of, if she starts a family, the dog is going to be at the tail end of its life, being that it's a giant breed, plus it's an apartment dog, a short walk down the block and back, you're good. Bull Mastiffs could go either way. That's what I was thinking. She may have a show and a lot of go.
that's just that, this is why I say, so I specifically asked them to go to a show line where you would hope, because just the way they tend to roll anyway, is like they could give a hoot if the dog behaves as it was actually intended to. They're more about the looks. And it seems like this 18-year-old is all about the looks. Like Joyce says, it's really about what they like. If they like, does it look right? So I got to give her the right look, but she needs the no-go thing. She has no skills. She's not going to acquire any skills. She needs an easygoing dog. So, this is my thing. I was afraid to go any larger because Lord knows. And then, of course, he's a vet. So if I say to him, get a giant breed, get yourself a Dane or English Mastiff, I'm sure he would have said orthopedic disasters. My granddaughters need medical problems, but I did what I could.
Well, Steve, as usual, it comes down to exactly the famous saying, "It's complicated."
And I mean, to jump off, part of the topic is, and Bonnie mentioned it, when going into a home and trying to help people. I think as trainers, and if trainers are watching this, like if someone hires you to come into their home, I mean, they're showing a level of willingness, I think, that is good. So if they're having problems and they're willing to spend money on professional help, and this part is probably more for dog owners, this is a good place for you to be, to show that willingness, because perhaps you did choose the wrong dog. Perhaps you are struggling with certain behaviors that just some modifications in your life, we could possibly mediate those issues. And as long as owners are willing, I think that's a good place for them to be. And I know that we've all shared on this forum many times that owner compliance is one of the biggest challenges that any dog trainer faces, right? We could tell you 64 times to do something. If you don't do it, then, there's really not much we could do.
Sure.
But if the owner, and this is for anyone watching, if you have a dog right now and you're struggling with that dog, regardless of breed, regardless of behavior, if you're open to change yourself, then you are opening the door to change for you and your dog. And I think that's a really good place for dog owners to be if they feel like, especially if that frustration and that overwhelming, daily life starts creeping in, whether it's, a high energy dog and they're not high energy people. Bonnie mentioned it briefly. There's things we could suggest to do inside the house to increase their mental stimulation. Maybe we're not increasing their physical stimulation to what that particular dog needs, but, if you got a big fat lazy person and they have a little tiny high energy terrier, a good dog trainer should be creative enough to come up with mental stimulation exercises inside the home to help offset the lack of physical stimulation. In which case, I mean, regardless of breed, I'm always, talking about the balance between physical and mental stimulation anyway. So, if someone's watching this and you're overwhelmed or you're feeling like maybe you don't have the right dog for your lifestyle, just call a professional, give it a chance, because it's possible we can come up with solutions that meet your lifestyle and satisfy the dog's needs to create harmony in your household.
So, given all that, I'd like to end it with this, which is, at what point do you say it's the wrong dog?
Go ahead, Joyce.
Yeah, go ahead, Joyce, please.
It's obviously dangerous for either side.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I ended up with my Doberman. The family was the wrong fit for the dog, and the dog was the wrong fit for the family, and there was a lot of chaos that wasn't going to be solved. The family wasn't willing to put money into training, and the dog was just going to continue to go down, into an aggressive landslide. So my feeling was, let's remove the dog from the house and find her a better place to be, and maybe they could give them some ideas of what's better to look for should they do it the next time. But it's generally when it's a dangerous situation. This dog, and she was biting. She tried to bite me when I first went to the door. So, and they had a 2-year-old in the house, and they had no idea what they were doing, and they really didn't care to learn. So, you know, I think when it just looks like it's a dead end and they're not willing to follow any of our suggestions, we have to say, this is just not a, you know, would you consider, if we have the ability, and not all trainers have connections to rescues, but if you do, can we help find a better situation for this dog?
And I'm assuming, Joyce, that's what you did. You found a rescue to help it.
Oh, I took her.
She is the rescue. She took it.
Well, that certainly is one way of handling the situation.
What about?
I don't do that.
So, what if you have a dog that bites,
mm-hmm.
and you know you can't keep it? You know, I mean, this might be a whole nother day, but you have a dog that bites, you know you can't keep it. If you put it in rescue and it goes to the wrong place again,
mm-hmm.
bites again, or you know how some people are going to abuse a dog that shows aggression. That's a horrible thought. That's the niche, the tough niche. It's like if it's not aggressive, if it's a dog that's peeing in your house, you're going to work that one out somehow. Somebody's going to come along that's got patience and skills, and you know they're going to do it. But when it's biting, then
mm-hmm.
that's a whole nother thing. Because if a dog is dangerous in your home, it could be dangerous in somebody else's, unless they have, you know, not everybody's Joyce, where, you know, she's going to take this dog, she's going to make a relationship, it's going to be all right. The dog's going to know how to behave, it's going to be comfortable and all that stuff. But if a lot of these dogs get moved from a bad situation into another bad situation, and you know, my heart bleeds for them. Like, Jeff, you have got to run into this with these pit bulls, no?
Sure.
One after the next. I mean, you know, if a person isn't willing, as Jeff says, to change their own behavior, they got zero chance of changing the dogs. And you know, you can throw that into the owner compliance bag if you want. I mean, call it what you will. A lot of them are like, listen, the dog's 6 months old. He doesn't come when I call him every time. I'm like, you know, that's a crime to them. You could imagine when you start talking about this, you know, aggression issues, and it's like, oh my God, it makes the whole thing, you know, now it changes things, because that's the one thing. Dangerous. What happens when they're in that situation? At our SPCA, we waited for what they called heroes to come in. We were waiting for a visitor that had like skills and knowledge and was looking for that dog, you know, so that they could give it a home and it's going to be all right. How often do you think those people walked over the threshold? Right?
Yeah.
It's a sad, sad story. And I don't know what the answer is, but I do know it's a big problem.
Wow.
I think at that point it's one of those sad situations where we have to recommend they discuss with their family and their vet possible euthanasia, because I always tell them nobody's going to love your dog as much as you do, and if he's acting aggressively and you're not willing to do anything about it, what makes you think anybody else is going to?
Yeah.
And they don't even love your dog yet.
Right.
So.
One of my biggest dilemmas, and I don't even know if I've shared this on here, but I say it often, and you know, I mean, Joyce can probably attest to this because she's, you know, she has an affinity for pitties too, and does pit bull rescue as well. It's, you know, when you're a trainer and you're a rescuer and you're a pit bull owner, like my internal struggle when I come across dogs with behavioral problems, particularly if there's real aggression. Obviously, we all know the A word is thrown around sometimes too much. But if there's real aggression and there's real safety issues, not just to the family, but the future of the dog, wherever it winds up, right? My internal struggle is the dog trainer in me says, you know what, we can fix them all, right? The rescuer in me says, we can save them all, right? The pit bull owner in me says, I don't want a dog like that out on the street. And that's the internal struggle that I face when I'm faced with that situation. And, you know, it's real, it's valid. And, you know, I don't know. I don't even know why I shared that. It just popped into my head because when I come across those situations, that's the struggle that I have internally.
I'm sure a lot of trainers experience the same thing too, Jeff.
Yeah.
And
I want to say one thing Joyce mentioned earlier, but I think Joyce mentioned, you know, about trainers. If some trainers may not have an affiliation or relationship with a rescue. Any dog trainers watching this, If you don't have a relationship with a rescue, please get one.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you all for being here for a very interesting discussion and a lot of thoughtful things said.
Yes.
And, thought-provoking as well.
And very meaningful.
So, I want to thank you all for watching as always. And we'll see you next time. Take care now. Bye-bye.